Earlier today, an article by Sports Business Journal came out that kind of predicted where broadcast rights may go in the next couple years, especially looking towards 2022. And of course, NASCAR was on there. While I'm going to get to what was said in that video, today I want to really look at what NASCAR's new broadcasting deal could look like going past 2024. It's going to be a really big story this year, and I think that getting a jump on it right now is a good thing to do. After all, back in 2012, the deal for 2015 onwards, the one we currently have, was pretty much finalized by the end of the 2012 season. So the way it's going right now, we probably will know by the end of the year what the next 5 to 10 years of NASCAR broadcasting looks like. So let's get into it. First, who are the players? And I think we have 6, one of them kind of being a little ambiguous, but 5 being ones we've seen before. Number 1, Fox Sports, the longest tenured network we currently have. They have Fox and Fox Sports 1. The thing is that they broadcast NFL and MLB games from September to November, and it's the MLB playoffs and, of course, football being the big juggernaut. There's no way that Fox can host any of the races from September onwards. Also, we have the other current one, NBC, who has NBC and USA currently. They also have Peacock for streaming. The big thing with this is Sunday Night Football in the fall and the Olympics in the summer every 4 years and in the winter around Daytona. Also, they've invested heavily in motorsports. That's something to keep in mind. Now, the third one is another big-time NASCAR broadcaster that we haven't seen in decades, CBS. They have CBS and CBS Sports Network. Now, the big one here is that the SRX has been on CBS this past year and shown plenty of promise with motorsports content. But CBS is very golf heavy, so NASCAR needs to keep that in mind. And just like with Fox, from September onwards, they're broadcasting the NFL on Sundays at the same time that NASCAR would be racing. So they probably will not be able to have the playoffs unless they don't want many people to see it on CBS Sports Network. Now, the fourth one is ABC and ESPN. Now, they have ABC, ESPN, and Espn2, so there's a lot more channels here. The thing is, there's plenty of stuff on the network. The NBA, the MLB, Monday Night Football, Formula One racing. There is so much stuff because it is, of course, the worldwide leader in sports. They would put NASCAR more than likely on the back burner the way they did in the previous deal. And they've gotten a lot worse since 2014. It's not to say the on-air talent isn't bad, it's the network itself. It's basically CNN with sports. Now, there also is one no one's talking about, and I think this is probably the least likely of the old broadcasters' return, Turner Sports. And they would use probably TNT and TBS. All cable, no broadcast networks. Now, the wild card here is one that maybe it could get its own chunk, but more than likely would be part of the other ones, and that's streaming. There's going to be low numbers. That is a given. It is a new and blossoming kind of technology when it comes to broadcasting, but it still is new and people need to adopt it. But it's the way of the future, and NASCAR could get a head start that really only the NFL has gotten. Now, there's numerous ways that you could put these all together, but I think there are 9 that are currently the most likely that could possibly happen. The realistic options are Fox and NBC together, Fox and ESPN, CBS and ESPN, CBS and NBC, or NBC and ESPN, or switch those to ESPN and NBC, a 3 broadcast team of Fox, then CBS, then NBC, or NBC could have the whole season, or ABC and ESPN could have the whole season. So let's get into these 9 right here. The least likely of these for me is ABC and ESPN getting the whole season. It's just too much of a commitment to NASCAR that the network has shown it's not willing to give. And there's too many conflicts on any network that you would put the races on. There'd probably be a lot of races on ESPN too. ESPN, though, is desperate right now. They need more and more live sports coverage, and they're willing to look anywhere to get it. I mean, they were even looking at one point at drone racing. Nothing against drone racing, but I don't see that as being on the same par as NASCAR, Formula One, NFL, MLB, whatever. They would offer NASCAR possibly more exposure, though, than the current deal if they had the whole season, if a lot of races were on ESPN and ABC only, and especially ABC. Now, the next one that I don't think will happen, but is still probably a realistic option, is Fox, then CBS, then NBC. The thing about this one is it's too good to be true. See, this would be the best possible deal for NASCAR, as it would help avoid the most conflicts. Plus, they can work with pretty much any major racing series in America. The thing is, they would probably have most races for each partner, or all the races for each partner, depending on how many races they got, on the big networks. So ratings probably would go up, even though there's more channels to look for now. Now, the next one that I think has a less likely chance of happening, but could, is Espn and Then Nbc. This would hurt NASCAR's important early season ratings, and I don't think they can afford to do that. Unlike every other major sport, NASCAR's ratings start out high and go down as the season goes on, instead of the way that others do that start out lower and get bigger as the year goes on. It would offer ESPN much-needed crown jewel sports coverage with the Daytona 500, but I don't think that's enough for NASCAR to sign on. But NBC would stay consistent. Now, the next one that I think is actually more realistic than people think is NBC Sports having the whole season. Consistency all season will be huge for NASCAR. A lot of the fall off in viewership as the year goes on is when coverage gets switched from one network to another. For instance, in the old deal, when Fox went to Turner Sports, coverage and the ratings went down. Then they went down when ESPN would come on compared to the way that Fox was. Changing the channels so often really confuses viewers who aren't used to seeing their sports change channels if they're supposed to be on consistently week after week. You see the same thing with Fox switching to NBC Sports now. Even if it's FS1 to NBC, the ratings jump isn't that high up compared to the way an FS1 to Fox race would be. So keeping it consistent all year would be really good. It worked with IndyCar scheduling, and they could, in turn, work with IndyCar. It would probably lead to higher ratings at first, though I don't know what exactly would be long term, as it guarantees there'd be cup races and a lot of Xfinity and truck races on Peacock especially. Now, another one that I think is also pretty realistic is CBS and ESPN. CBS is more likely to keep all the races on the big network, helping early season ratings, and it'd be a return to more old school partners, though I think it'd be much different looking. Same ESPN issues though as before, so I don't know how good this would be for fans. Getting to the ones that are more realistic and probably good is CBS starting the season with NBC ending it. The most probable big broadcast races, aside from the three-way split of the other networks, they'd be able to work with big-time motorsports coverage like SRX as well as IndyCar. And I think that the way that motorsports fans are watching more series than ever, that'd be important. The thing is, there are big scheduling conflicts, though similar with Fox, with the Super Bowl with CBS, and the Olympics with NBC as well. Plus, Sunday Night Football is always there. Now, there are three that I think are the most likely, and I would probably say you can place a pretty big bet that one of these next three will be the next deal, more than likely. Now, the first of these is keeping it the same. Fox starting the year, NBC ending the year. Consistency from deal to deal has not been seen since the 2001 deal was signed. See, there's always been some sort of change. Fox has been a mainstay, but it's changed from Fox and NBC to Fox and Turner and ESPN to Fox and NBC again. And I think if they keep it the same, at first the ratings would stay stable. They have been stable from 2018 through 2021, so it's not to say that this would be a bad thing. But I think it probably means that there's going to be more races long-term on cable and streaming. And I think that keeping this deal in place more than likely would probably hurt the sport long-term. Now, the second one is the one that has the smoking gun right now. Fox and ESPN. Listen, I don't think somebody's going to say in Sports Business Journal to take it to the bank that Fox and ESPN are going to be the next coverage deal. That's a lot of responsibility and a lot of somebody's reputation to put on the line. There would be a consistent start to the season that dates back to 2001, like I said before, and it'd be more of a throwback to the 2007 to 2014 deal without that 6-race summer stretch on TNT. It'd be straightforward for fans. It would probably mean that there'd be more coverage later in the season, as NBC is big, same as ABC, but the thing is, ESPN, if all the rest of the races were on ESPN, would bring in more viewers than somewhere like NBC Sports Network or USA Network. So this one could be beneficial, though Fox would really have to up their game and ESPN would actually have to try behind the scenes. While I do trust experts, I think though, in my opinion, the most likely deal would be NBC starting the year and ESPN ending it. You see, this offers the best availability without many scheduling conflicts for either of the networks. ESPN would cover the part of the season that really only has Monday Night Football to worry about, and I don't think NASCAR is going to try and take a monopoly on Monday races. So I think that you put the ESPN races on ESPN and ABC, you really have no big sports coverage at that time of year at the end of the year that's going to be conflicting with them. Now with NBC, the only big one would be the Winter Olympics, and if you schedule the Daytona 500 right, like you did in 2006, the Winter Olympics could be one big promotional deal for the Daytona 500. It also would then get NBC out of their constraints of having to have races done before Sunday Night Football coverage. Plus, ESPN would get a desperately needed live sports championship, while NBC would get another major crown jewel event in their arsenal when it comes to the Daytona 500. You can work and schedule with both IndyCar and Formula One. For instance, you could have the Indy 500 and have coverage of that lead directly into coverage of the Coca-Cola 600. Also, you could have Formula One coverage at your disposal for ESPN and ABC, and you could have that flow directly into NASCAR playoff coverage, keeping a lot of hardcore American motorsports fans on the TV ready to go. I don't think this would be the best possible deal, but I think there's a lot of merits to this one that if it were to go through, would go really, really well for NASCAR. But I gotta say, if it were up to me, I would either want NBC all year to have consistency like IndyCar does, or to have the three-way split of Fox for the first 12 races, CBS leading up to the playoffs, and NBC covering the playoffs. That way you get the most possible big network races. But I'm just a fan. I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't know all this stuff. I'm not an expert. So don't take what I say to the bank. I'm just giving you the pros and cons that I think could be for each of these possible deals. But now I've said my piece. I want to see what you think. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you think the next deal may bring. And also, while you're at it, leave a like on this video. Share this video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content like this as the offseason goes on. And to all my channel members, thank you so much for your support. It never goes unnoticed. So until next time, have a good one.